Jeff Marion here. With vaccines in the news, you're probably wondering what happens if you get an injury due to a vaccine. Can I sue the manufacturer of the vaccine? Do I sue the people who administered it? This video is part of a series of videos about vaccine safety that'll give you the answers to those questions. This is a series of videos designed to help you navigate the civil justice system if you're injured in a car crash, a truck crash, a fall, or by an unsafe product. So click on the logo to subscribe, and we have new videos every Sunday. I've been fighting for people who've been injured in car crashes, truck crashes, and falls, and by unsafe products for over 25 years. I'm also a member of the Vaccine Injured Petitioners Bar Association. A little refresher course from some of the previous videos, which again you can check out on this channel. You file a case if you've been injured by a vaccine. You petition in the Federal Court of Claims. And what happens is it's an alternative to civil litigation. It's basically a no-fault setup with informal hearings. Also to remind you, there are several vaccines that are covered and others that are not. There are vaccines under the Vaccine Injury Compensation Program, such as the flu vaccine, the HPV vaccine, the MMR for measles, mumps, and rubella, hepatitis vaccines, varicella vaccines, polio, whooping cough, tetanus. These are the main ones that you may encounter and probably that you were given as a kid. Another thing you should be aware of is that you've got 3 years to file your claim from the date that you've been vaccinated. If you're representing somebody who unfortunately passed away from one of these vaccine injuries, you've only got 2 years. Now, an interesting thing you should know is this is very different from personal injury law. In personal injury law, when you're dealing with a minor, that statute of limitations is tolled or basically frozen until the minor turns 18. In this case, that tolling doesn't exist. So even if you're representing a minor or you want to file on behalf of a minor, you've only got 3 years regardless of age. So that's something I think you definitely need to be aware of and make sure that you're cognizant of if you are going to pursue this line of litigation. Another interesting fact, most doctors don't even know about this program and its existence. In fact, they don't even know that they're actually required by federal law to report an adverse reaction to a vaccine. There's what's known as the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System. And that is where doctors are, again, required to report these adverse reactions. Now, in most cases, the doctor might say, oh, well, it's from overexertion or something else, or it'll go away. But again, this is a federally mandated program, and it's something you should be aware of, and it's one of your rights under the program, is to make sure that this injury is reported. The vaccine court, that section of the Federal Court of Claims, is no small part. Over 5,000 petitions have been adjudicated there. Oftentimes it takes 2 to 3 years from the time you file your petition until the time your case is settled or a decision is made in your case. As we discussed earlier, it has to be a covered vaccine. And you can rewind the video, I went over most of them. Is COVID-19 a covered vaccine? Well, actually, no. As of right now, it isn't. There is a bill in Congress to add the COVID-19 vaccines to the list of covered vaccines. But currently, this is still in committee and it's very early stages. In fact, if you are injured by a COVID-19 vaccine, you have to seek compensation through the Countermeasures Injured Compensation Program, which is an entirely different standard, and we'll cover it in another video at a future date. Okay, so let's say you've got a covered vaccine and you've got an injury as a result of that vaccine. There are actual injuries that are covered that are listed in the VICP rules and regulations. So if you have certain injuries, it's considered covered, it's presumed to be covered, and it's presumed that you'll be compensated. The government can, of course, rebut that presumption in the hearings, but what if you have an injury, it's questionable, or they try to rebut the presumption? How do you go about proving it? The way you prove that is through your medical records. Your doctor or any specialist you may have seen may relate it back to the injury. You also, and your lawyer, may hire an expert to testify or to provide a report to the special master in charge of your case, demonstrating that to a reasonable degree of medical certainty, this particular injury you've sustained was caused by the vaccine that you took. Also, you're allowed to submit medical journals. You can show scientific studies where the vaccine caused this specific injury that you have in a certain percentage or a significant percentage of patients. Is this my only remedy? Am I allowed only to file in the Federal Court of Claims under the Vaccine Injury Compensation Program? Not necessarily. You can choose after 240 days to opt out. That means that after 240 days from filing your petition, you can opt out and go into the civil justice system if you haven't received a decision as of yet. When might you want to do that? There's one common vaccine. In fact, it's the most common vaccine injury. It's called SIRVA, shoulder injury related to vaccine administration. That potentially leaves issues on the table of malpractice cases against a doctor, or depending on your state, if it was administered by a pharmacy or a state agency, potentially negligence, as opposed to an actual medical malpractice, which is a different standard. What may also play into your thinking, especially with this type of shoulder injury, is that there is a cap on your non-economic damages. Now, we've talked about that in previous videos. That's your pain and suffering, your loss of enjoyment of life, the things that you used to be able to do that you can no longer do. That is capped at $250,000. Now, there is some lobbying going on in Congress right now to raise that cap, but we're going to see how that plays out in the COVID-19 relief bill or in future legislation going forward. If you have a significant shoulder injury that requires multiple surgeries, interestingly, if that happened to you in a motor vehicle crash and you're in a state that doesn't have caps on damages, you might get more money as a result of that. But in this situation, you may have a higher standard of proof, so you've got to be aware of that. And you're going to have to discuss that with legal counsel and make sure that you have a good dialogue and get full legal advice and understand all of your options. Another thing you should be aware of is that there was recently a rule in the Department of Health and Human Services to change the ruling on these shoulder vaccines. We'll get into that starting next week. I've also got information available through my website and through my mailing list that'll help you understand how safe vaccines are. I've got a free PDF on vaccine safety. I've got another free PDF on COVID-19 vaccine myths. Those are available if you join my mailing list. The address is below. You can also email me directly. I'll shoot that address out right now. You can see that on the screen. And then what we'll do next week is we're going to talk about the most common vaccine injury you've never heard of. I'm always available for free consultations, so you can email me, you can call me, you can visit my website, www.jeffmarionlaw.com. You can message me on Facebook, and you can like my page there, facebook.com/JeffMarionLaw. If you have questions about vaccines or any personal injury issue or something you'd like me to cover in a video, leave that in the comments below. Also take a moment to like this video, share it with people you know who are curious and also have questions about vaccines, and continue to watch this channel for more information. So we'll see you next week.